Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Christian Media Marketing Show. My name is John Rawls. I get to work with a great group of people who together we are called Kavanaugh Media, and we get to partner with some great groups, teams, organizations all around the world. One of them is GMPI, who's helping us put this show together. So I am thankful for them. I am thankful for Mike and Tom and all of them there in Joplin, Missouri, who are helping us do that. I am excited today, one, for the content that we're going to be sharing. Two, I'm going to be announcing something that has been in the works for quite a while, and just share my heart a little bit about that as well. But if this is your first time watching this live training, let me answer just some questions as we're getting started, maybe let you know where we're going to be going, but also just give you an idea about why we have this show. So we started Kavanaugh Media about 3 years ago, and a big thing that's on our heart is to help anyone that we possibly can. When I got cancer, I got follicular lymphoma. It was a really focusing time personally in my life, and it's in that same period of time that we started Kavanaugh Media with the purpose of helping teams or churches, or mission organizations be able to find seekers, to leverage technology, to leverage media, to be able to find those people that the Holy Spirit is working in. And so through this journey, God has been faithful. But one of the things that's on my heart is I want to help people. We started this as a business, as a mission, so that we could get back in the game, that we could get and do as much as we could as fast as we can. And so we're out there pushing with partners and groups and media groups and churches to try to make Jesus famous. Well, as we started, we began to create these training shows, Facebook marketing, Google Analytics, Google Ads, but it's always changing. Sometimes it's changing like every couple months. And so this live training is our opportunity to just give back to the kingdom, to say, here's what we know. Here's not that we know everything. Here's our opinion on some things, or my opinion at least. But it's a way for me to update some of that training as well. And so with Alan and others helping me prepare and to research, that's why we're doing this. It's also with these small teams or churches in mind. If you're a huge organization or group, God bless you. That's awesome. But many times you're going to have resources available that these smaller teams or small churches or groups may not have. And so I always want to remember you, those of you who are in those situations where you don't have a lot, or you're trying to make the most with the resources that you have. So that's why this show has had its beginning. We're on episode 13. We're recording these, so those are all going to our Kavanaugh Media website, KavanaughMedia.com. You can register there, watch those trainings, all for free. You do need to give me your name, all right, so I know who it is that's watching them. I'm not going to give it away. I'm not selling it. I'm not going to spam you, okay? Fair enough? But so if you're watching this, or you want to watch these shows or get caught up, just go to our website and you can see those there. Now, what I'm finding out is that a lot of people, even though we do this show live, a lot of people are watching it later on. But if you are watching it live, we'd love to see your comments. If you want to give me a thumbs up or whatever else on your reactions to that from whichever place you're watching, we'd love to just see that and to respond back to you, especially if you have questions. So as we're going through this show, if things pop up in your mind, if you want to ask, we'll try to answer them live during the show, okay? So we start this show each week with a few questions that we get emailed to us or people reaching out to us. And then I go into the specific training about the subject that we're going to talk about, which today is Google Analytics. All right, so let me share a couple of thoughts on some of the questions that I've been asked this week, and then I also want to just give you this announcement, okay? So here's the very first question that I received, which was somebody saying, I'm still confused. Why do we need to use landing pages? Why do we need to have them? All right, and so let me see if I can summarize real quickly a couple real big benefits to them. If you're using, let's say, a Facebook page for your ministry or your mission team or your outreach, as soon as you put new content on it, what is there keeps getting pushed down. After a month, or depending on your frequency of putting things on there, that content, you may not be able to see that content, a person that goes to your site, unless they're really scrolling down a lot through it. The reason we use landing pages is that ads are not meant to convince someone. They're just a hook. They're just something to catch their attention, to get them to go discover more, to watch more, to have access to the Bible, to be able to talk to someone online in real time about Jesus. Right? And so we need to keep the ads doing what they do well and not try to force them into doing something that they can't do. Truthfully, it's the same thing with our websites and our landing pages. It takes multiple touches, multiple times for a person to see content, to really begin to consider something. I talk about this being a pebble in the shoe. It's just these small little bits of truth that they begin to think about, that they begin to question their own worldview or what they are thinking, the way they were brought up. For millions of people, they've never had any exposure to Jesus or the Bible. Or they've been told that it's corrupt or that he is just a prophet or whatever. This takes time to think through these challenges to their worldview. So landing pages allow you to put very specific content related to the ad. Maybe it's a longer video and you had a short clip of it in your ad. Maybe it's another article. Maybe it's a little devotional thought that's underneath the video that you have on your page. It could be a lot of different things, but you don't want to put too much on one landing page because most of the people in the world are accessing the internet through a cell phone. And so you really have to think mobile first as people are scrolling through your site. So putting little bite-sized next steps of information will help people continue to think and to process. I talk about it chewing on your food there. So we don't want to just shove all of this down. We want to give them next steps, bite-sized bits of information, but always the opportunity to discover more. So I hope that the person who was asking this, the hesitancy is not because it takes work, because yes, it does. This is an intentional strategy. This is not just something you bolt on or just kind of do every once in a while. If you want to see results, then you need to make the commitment to doing these things, all of the process, the complete end-to-end process. It starts with media and marketing, but it ends, Lord willing, with a face-to-face and sharing with that person in their heart language. So it takes a commitment, and creating these landing pages are one of those things that we have to do to be able to do that. Here's another question. Do Facebook ad campaigns with different objectives but targeting the same audience compete with each other in a negative way? So you are working whatever location you're at, and you have maybe some different ads, or maybe it's the same ad, but you just want to change the objective. I love this question. Okay, and I appreciate the person that asked this question to me because they're really thinking through the marketing part of it. Understand this, that when you're doing a Facebook or an Instagram ad, specifically here, you have to pick one objective. And the algorithms try to accomplish that one objective for you. So if you say, my objective is traffic, you want people to go to your website, well then don't be surprised if people don't watch as much of the video clip that maybe you have in your ad. Now, I think they still will watch the video, but maybe not as much. What the algorithm does is that they know which of us are most likely to click on an ad, to watch a video, to comment, to engage, to send that thumbs up or to put a heart or something like that on it. And so it's trying to accomplish what you said was your objective. So with this question here is, if we do the same ad, but we run it different campaigns or different ad sets with different objectives here, will we be competing against ourselves? Well, there's no one answer to this. There's no, yes, you always will, and it's terrible, don't do it, or no, it's no problem at all. If your audience, probably the best answer I can give you is if your audience size is big enough, Okay, 30,000, 50,000, 500,000 would be great, 2 million, okay, depending on where you're at. If it's big enough, then even though you're doing different parts of this audience and it's segmented, I don't think it's going to be a negative to you. All right, and so I would encourage you to go ahead, and I say this all the time with our clients, let's try it. Like, we never know. Even because something did work 6 months ago or didn't work doesn't mean it won't be doing it now. So let's experiment and see. But when I have done this in the past, I have not found that it drove my cost up significantly. Maybe a penny a person, something like that. So I would really encourage you to try this. You don't have to run them all at the same time, though. You could run the ad to an audience with video views, and you could run it with traffic or engagement, whatever your objective is. So you could do that, okay? And so you can stack them, or you could run them all at the same time. Either way, I would encourage you to give it a try and to see what your results look like. To me, that experimentation is a great thing to be thinking through. All right, so thanks for the question, and reach out. Let us know what you discover in your context as you are doing that. All right. So let me share a little bit about a journey that's been happening here, and then we're going to jump into the training. And so I just want to share this. I'm going to be putting this out on our podcast, but I want to get started today to share a little bit about, as Kavanaugh Media, what do we desire? What is my dream? And as I began to tell you about this a little bit earlier, when I got cancer, it forced me to have to filter down everything and to say what really, really matters. And for me, and in extension, I guess, our company here, it was three things, because that's every good sermon, it has three, right? So it was my faith, it was my family, and it was our finances. And by faith, I want to make the biggest impact in the kingdom. In fact, honestly, I believe that this is one of the most, if not the greatest time in history to be able to share the gospel. I know it's tough. I know it, political climate and just around the world, there's so much persecution, but we have tools available. We have so much available to be able to reach so many people. So this is what I'm hoping for. This is what I would love to see happen. That there are no unengaged people groups in the world. That every people group out there has people that are intentionally trying to reach out to them and who are learning the languages, who are equipping and discipling these local people groups. I would love to see, and I believe it's very much possible, that 1 billion people see gospel content in a year. And so 1 out of 7 people will see some sort of ad or some sort of content giving them gospel, good news content. I desire that every seeker have a relevant next step of content available. That if they're not ready to have that direct message with you, that there's still this next thing. Think kind of like Netflix, where it says, hey, because you've watched this, you might like that. I believe that we can figure out how to do that and how we can give people relevant next steps of content in their spiritual journey. I want to see every seeker have the opportunity to talk with someone about Jesus, both online and then offline. I am not content with these people pressing a button saying, I've accepted Jesus, and we think our job is done. That's not the end of this. If anything, it's a beginning part to it. And so it starts online, but Lord willing, we're going to be able to be back face to face. So we need local partners and local people to be partnering together, working together to be able to pull this off. And then I personally have another dream to this, and that is simply to see that as many different churches and organizations and media groups can figure out how to work together instead of competing. We don't always have to be creating these competitive little things. We don't always have to worry about, hey, whose logo is on it. I simply desire to be a Christian. No other labels. And I simply desire that Christians unite together till we use our resources and we use our talents and we stay in our swim lanes. We do the things that we can do well to help other people to be able to do that. So one of the things that we're doing then as a business's mission is we charge for people who want us to be doing the marketing, helping create the campaigns. We don't translate it, but to work with teams. Maybe they don't have a lot of people, whatever it might be, okay? But we want to help teams, and there are some amazing groups and organizations that are out there that have the same desire. And so one of them has given us $50,000 to help teams be able to, as they work with us, to help manage their ads and partner with them for their ad costs. And so I'm excited. Like I literally created a page here saying, okay, let's get going. And it's literally this, CavanaughMedia.com/let's go. And so if you are a team and you are trying to, maybe you watch these shows, you're trying to put your mind around it and you just can't get it. Maybe you don't have enough people to be able to do it. Maybe that's not what you went to the field to learn. But you're working in that 1040 window, you're working among unreached people groups. Well, if we can eliminate some of those costs when it comes to ads, then we want to try to help. And so we're going to develop this program with that grant money to work with those who are partnering with Cavanaugh Media to help cover their ad costs for a little bit of time. We can't perpetually do that. But here's what I'm also finding is that when we're doing the right things, finance care of themselves. The Lord is providing, and there's some generous people and organizations that are out there, and we want to be able to do that as well. We've hired 2 new people to our Cavanaugh Media team, and I can't wait to work with more and more people to make Jesus famous. All right, enough of that. Sounds like an ad, and I don't want it to be that, but I want you to hear my heart. I want you to understand that as a business's mission, our ultimate thing is to expand the kingdom. And so if we can help you, whether you're a paying client or not, we want to. Please hear my heart on that. All right? Well, let's jump into some training now, and we're going into a brand new subject today. We're going into Google Analytics. Now, Google Analytics is really important to me because I love data. Because I want to know, is what we're trying to accomplish, are we doing that? Are we succeeding? I used to be a basketball coach. I coached at a small college, and I would actually keep notes about even who my officials are. And I would be able to then, that next time I saw that guy, say, hey Bob, how's the soybean business doing for you? Because every little piece of data to me gave me an advantage. Are we accomplishing our goals? Are we doing what we've said we wanted to do? It's possible to be able to raise support and tell a story here or there, but honestly, down deep, we may not be accomplishing what God is calling us to do. That's where data can help with it. That's where data can really shed light on, are people coming to our church or our mission or our outreach and evangelistic website? What are they doing on our site? How are our ads helping drive is it the right traffic? How is it driving people to it? What are they doing once they get to our site? What pages are they going to? Is there a certain page or section that they're leaving from? Who is coming? What are the demographics? Where are they coming from? And so I love Google Analytics. There are other tools that are out there, but keeping in mind the small teams, this is a free tool to be able to analyze what's happening on your site. And so for the next few weeks here, 2 to 3 weeks, we're going to dive into Google Analytics. Now, it has changed. You'll hear our team talk a lot about GA3 and GA4. That could be the military in me, but I tend to abbreviate things a lot. But what we're saying, you'll also read it called universal at times. Google Analytics 3 was what has been the norm up until just a few months ago. And then Google released a brand new analytics, what we're calling GA4. And this Google Analytics 4, well, it's completely different. Part of it is the pixel changes and some of the stuff that's taking place just overall in the marketing world. But it is really changing the analytics picture. If you already have Google Analytics on your site, then you have what you'll hear me call GA3. All right? If you've already signed up and put this on your website before, then it's all there. If you watch this and you say, I want to do this, we want this on our church website or our evangelistic site or whatever, great. when you go to sign up, and I'll show you where that is in a little bit, you're going to automatically be in the new Google Analytics, the GA4, and it has changed. So we're in a transition period. And if you have the older version of Google Analytics, I would encourage you to keep it. You can also install the new version on your website. It's not going to slow it down. You will notice, though, that some of those numbers are going to look a little bit different. And that's how Google Analytics 4 is parsing the data and how it handles that data. Some of this can get technical, and I really don't want to jump in there and do that. It's not the super technical to me. I wanted this to be an overview for you. And one of the best ways to do that as we get started is to be able to give you some terms. And so we're going to have some live training here in a little bit. Let me show you what this looks like. If you go to Google Analytics, so you would go to analytics.google.com, and if you've not signed up, then you will see a screen that looks like this, all right? And so that's this screen right here. And when you scroll through this screen, you're going to see where it gives you some of the benefits of using Google Analytics. It's going to kind of sell you on that whole process, but this is where you can go. Notice also that it ties in with your Google Ads, with Google Data Studio, which is something we haven't even talked about yet, as well as Google Optimize, which is a way for you to A/B test your website. All right, so analytics is what you're going to be looking at, and you see this word right here, it is free. Okay, Google Analytics is free. So let me give you some examples here of what we're talking about. All right, so when we begin to look in here to, this is right here, this is Google Analytics, their demo site. All right, so I'm going to bring this out a little bit there, and so you can kind of see the screen. This is the newer version. And so you're going to have real-time reports. It's going to tell you about your audience, acquisition. There's a lot of information there, okay? So when you begin to look into this and to look into this form, you're going to notice some things. And I don't want to go too far into this. I just want to show you some basic things to this right now. So let me give you some examples here as you look at the screen. I want to jump into this, and I want you to see on this screen that you were just looking right there, a couple of key things that I want you to see. All right, and so when you're looking, this 701 right up here, this area is how many users have come in. This is the last 30 days. So when you get into analytics, it's going to show you how many people are coming to your website. Then it's going to tell you how many sessions, how many times people have done things. All right, so people will come back more than once to your website. Then you have what's called your bounce rate. And I'm going to give you all these terms here and the elements in just a minute, but I want you to see it visually first. A bounce rate is how many times that people come to your website and then leave from that same page. Now, if you're driving traffic just to a landing page and there's no other buttons or places to go, well, that bounce rate's going to be high, obviously. They come to one page and then they leave. If you have other pieces of content and they go to other pages, that's where you'll notice your bounce rate will start to go down. And then you can also see your session duration. For here, for this site, it's 4 minutes and 47 seconds is what you have. And so that's a long time. In fact, I will tell you, that's a really long time. Don't be surprised when you're doing this at first if your session duration is just a few seconds. If your bounce rate is up to 90% or higher, it takes time. Okay, and the more content, the more pieces of information of next steps on your website that you have for people, the more video content or things for them to actually engage, then the longer your session duration. These are averages too. So even if one person goes to your site and spends 5 minutes and then you have 10 coming for 3 seconds, that's going to pull that duration down there. What I wanted to show you on this as well is that this is showing users right now. Now, do you notice this? This is the last 30 days. Look at what happened right here. This period right here, if you look at the time frame, that's Easter. This is the empty tomb, and look at this site, a media site. Look what's happening. The people going to their site and watching content, engaging with content. And so, yeah, there are certain times of the year for your audience that may be ones where people are more interested. Maybe they don't know anything about Easter or Christmas. For us living in Taiwan, the kids in school, the normal Taiwanese students would have school on Christmas Day, right? Because it meant nothing to them. But these big rocks of content, you may notice over time that there are certain periods where your traffic, or maybe you started to run ads and there'll be more people there. You can also then see what's happening on your site, which is this 87, how many people in real time are on your website. I love doing that. And there's been times where I've started campaigns in 20 or plus different countries, and I'll just have screens up all over the place so I can see in real time there's somebody on our site. They're looking and watching more video content about Jesus, and you can pray. It drives your engagement with people. I love it. I love watching it, and to me, this is another huge benefit to Google Analytics. All right, so hopefully I've whetted your appetite, that you're willing to do this, that you want to make sure you put this on your evangelistic or your church website or whatever. Let's look at about 6 to 7 minutes of training here, and I'm going to walk you through just some thoughts of Google Analytics as well as some key terms and concepts. Some of these are going to change over time as Google Analytics 4 changes, but it's good to understand these concepts and terms, and then just so that you know, next week we'll work through how to make sure it's installed correctly and how to really dive down into it. So let's watch this training here about some of the key terms of Google Analytics. It's important to understand some basic concepts and terms that we're going to use throughout the whole course. And one of them is this idea of marketing analysis, of digital marketing analysis. And really what we're looking at is the idea of, is what God has called you to do as a ministry, is the data showing that you are accomplishing that? Are you meeting the goals and the performance indicators that you have set up as a church or ministry organization or mission team? Are you accomplishing God's mission? The data's there, but we need to be able to find the right data and put it in a way that we can best understand it. It's not about making a bunch of really neat looking charts. It's about having information that we can look at that will guide our next steps. And really the idea is continual improvement, to constantly be looking at the data and figuring out, is what we're doing working? What could we try differently? What do we want to experiment with? And so these terms that we're going to look at next, all of these help us best understand the data so it can help guide us to fulfill what God is calling for us to do. I want to give you some key concepts and terms that are going to help you really be able to best utilize not only this training, but Google Analytics to determine whether you are accomplishing the goals that God has called you to do. When you look at your Google Analytics, there are two basic parts to it. There are metrics and there are dimensions, which really you need to think of those as categories. Under metrics, there's quantitative data, which are measurements of values or counts, and many times are expressed as numbers. This measures the actual data. This is where you're going to get percentages and ratios and information such as that. In dimensions, when you think of it as a category, that is more qualitative in its nature. And qualitative data measures types of information, and it can be represented by a name or a symbol or something else. It is descriptive of what you're seeing. It brings it together, and many times it splits these into categories. Now here are some other key terms that are important for you to know. A page view is a count of how many times a user visits a specific page on your website. A hit is user interaction with the website and or your page content. So every time they come to your site, that's a hit. And there are three types within Google Analytics. There's page tracking hits. This is when the page loads, that gets counted. There's event tracking hits, such as when they click a button or they scroll on a page or they watch a video or they do something specific on your site. And then third is e-commerce type of tracking, which is something that we're not going to cover in this course, since I'm assuming that all of you are using this in a ministry context. Then there are sessions, and sessions are a visit to the website within a specific given time frame.
The exit can be leaving the site, or it can mean that they've just been inactive for 30 minutes. Either way, that's counted as leaving. That session is over. Users that leave and return within 30 minutes are still counted as that original session for the data. Another one is users. Users are visitors to your website, and they're identified by a client ID, and they're stored in your browser cookie. Now, you don't know who they are, it's anonymized, but the Google Analytics code does know when a person goes to your site and when they come back again. So it knows when you have a return user, and it can track that same user across multiple sessions across that client ID. Another one is your segment. A segment is a group of users who share a similar dimension or fall under the same category in the groupings. This can break up users into dimensions or categories, and it's really a key concept in analytic reporting. You might have male or female, you might have mobile versus desktop. There's a lot of different ways to segment your data. You can segment it even by geographic location, all sorts of information, where they're coming from, the source of that, the referral code, the UTM parameters, which is something we'll cover later on, that tell more about your ads that you're using. All of this are a part of your segment tracking. A conversion is what we wish was when a person becomes a Christian, but in Google Analytics, it means that they've done something. They've reached a certain objective. They've accomplished something, or they did something on your website that Google Analytics is tracking. When a user completes an action or a goal that you want them to take, this is counted as a conversion. And these goals are defined by your ministry. You can set them up, and we'll show you how to do that in this course. Events are any hit or user interaction on your website. Anything that happens on there is something that is an event. A goal can be an event, or it can be a group of events, think of it as a funnel, that you want a user to complete on your website. So you want them to do specific steps and to walk through that. That would be an idea of a funnel of events. You can configure events to track all the way in your Google Analytics. A source and a medium are two other concepts that are really important. The source is the who. This is the place where the traffic itself originated from. Think Facebook or Google or a blog or search. That is the source. That is the who of it. An example would be your social media or something else like that. All of that is a part of your source traffic. The medium is the how. And that's the avenue that the traffic took to get from your source to your site. So a social ad or a search or some other form of referral. All of this is data that is considered part of your source and your medium. Finally, the other concept that's important to know is attribution. And attribution is assigning value to touch points within a user's journey to that conversion that you want them to do. And so you're attributing something to them, that the ad was what caused them to come to your site, or the search was, or whatever it might be. Analyzing your traffic sources and site content can help you and help your users reach your ministry goals. And there's a lot of different types of attribution models within Google Analytics to see whether it was the first touch or the last touch. Was it the first time they saw the ad, or was it the last ad? That's just one example of attribution, and we'll look at that in more detail within this course. So understanding these terms will better help you understand all of the material that we're going to be covering in this course to help you make the best decisions with that data that Google Analytics is going to give to you.
All right, well, there you go. I know that nobody likes terms. Like, nobody loves to go to a test and say, hey, this is the stuff I'm most interested in. But as you begin to understand things like that segment or the source, as you understand attribution and even how it's changing, why these things are in a cookieless world, what those are going to look like. And part of that's brand new. We don't even know yet. As you begin to understand these terms, as we dive into this training, okay, into this live training course, you're going to begin to see then and really understand a little bit better about how to use this data to see if you're accomplishing what God is calling you specifically to do. All right, I hope that this is a benefit. I hope that you will listen to our podcast. It comes out each week. It's called Christian Media Marketing Podcast. I hope you'll subscribe to whatever these channels. I hope that if you're looking for somebody to partner with you, to be able to really leverage Christian media, that you will go and type in that address, KavanaughMedia.com/let's go. It will take you to this page right here. And we're just literally talking about just who are you? Okay, what's your email, your name, and all that? Okay, just what is your information that you have, and that will allow us to reach back out to you. That's all we're doing there. All right, that will begin the conversation. You're not locked in on anything at all, but my heart goes out to those of you who are like, I want to use this, but we just don't want to learn all of this, or we can't, or we're a small team, or whatever that might be. If that's you and we can help you, even if it's not that you hire us to do certain things, reach out. Okay, send us a message. Let us know. We may answer some of those questions even here on this show as well. No matter what, just keep pressing forward. Do everything you possibly can to make Jesus famous. And if we can help you, we would love to lock arms with you together. Thank you for watching the show. Next week, we're going to dive into specifically setting up Google Analytics if you've never done that before, and what you do once you get into analytics, how to really analyze it to see specifically for ministry how it's doing. Until then, take care, God bless, and may the Lord bless all that you're doing to expand His kingdom around the world.